What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Clown Questions, the show where there are no dumb questions. I'm your host, Matt K. Maurer, and the question on my mind today is, are the Badgers back or are they bad? We'll attempt to get to the bottom of that with a college basketball expert, a guy who watches every single game. He'll watch the Prairie View A&M exhibition game, so he knows the Badgers as well as anyone. Pete Maurer, who coincidentally has the same last name as me. He is my father, and he'll be a great guest today. So who's down to clown?
That's a clown question, bro.
All right, now pulling up to the pod is a first-time guest, Peter Maurer, a.k.a. Peter's Home Loans, a.k.a. Patriot Pete, a.k.a. Pete 90X, a man with many names, my father, Dad. Thank you for joining me today.
You are welcome. You forgot one. Call me Badger Pete today. For today, I'm Badger Pete.
Badger Pete for the day. I like it. Yeah, you got the merch.
Yep.
You got the
I do.
QZ, the Peyton Manning quarter zip with Wisconsin,
Well, no,
and
it's
looks
a full
like
zip. It's a full
not a
zip. It's
quarter.
old school. It's Adidas
Okay.
when Adidas was repping the Badgers before Under Armour. So
Yeah, we might have
goes
to
back.
go back to Adidas. I don't know if I like the Under Armour jerseys, but you got the
Understood.
Final four shirt on today. But yeah, obviously I want to talk a lot of Badgers, and maybe you give me an early shot in the dark Final Four here. But yeah, thank you for joining me. We are definitely not in the same house right now. Definitely not.
Beautiful. No, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm in
We'll
my
straighten
own.
everything out.
I'm in my own house. I got a great rate on a mortgage from petershomeloans.com. Go check him out if you need a
right.
mortgage. He's the
That's
personable mortgage broker you need to go to for all your mortgage needs. But
Thank
enough
you very much
promo.
for that. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no problem. We're trying to promote it here. But
Perfect.
yeah, enough promo. Let's get to the Badgers. Like I said, you may not be locked in on the Milwaukee Bucks or the Brewers. You do follow the Packers quite a bit, but no team do you follow more than the Badgers. You watch every football game. You got season tickets. You got season tickets for basketball. You're not missing a game there either. But I got to ask you about this basketball team. Maybe we'll, begrudgingly talk about the football team. I think we're a lot more optimistic about the Badger basketball team this year. We should be a lock for the tournament here. Even after last night, I was so excited. Badgers after dark. We start at 10 p.m. and we ended around midnight, and it was not the result we were looking for. We lost to, let's say, not a great team, a team that's not going to be in the NCAA tournament unless they make a ridiculous run and win the Big Ten tournament, Oregon. So yeah, not a great. I was hoping to, come in here on a little bit of a higher note, but that's kind of the dichotomy of the Badger season here, where we've had some bad losses, but we've had some amazing wins. We beat 3 top 10 teams already, so it seems like quite a range of outcomes for the Badgers here. But I don't want to get too much into the Oregon game because I know you may have had to go to bed a little early for Badgers After Dark. He did record it. Don't worry, he's not gonna. He'll still see every minute of it. But let me start with one of our top 10 wins. Obviously, we beat Illinois, we beat Michigan. Those were closer ones. But at home, this is a game you attended, a game you got to storm the court for. Michigan State, Tom Izzo's Spartans were dominated by the Badgers. I want to start off on a positive note. So how do you think we went out there in Madison and dominated Tom Izzo's Michigan State team start to finish? Really, what did we win by 20 points? How did we do that?
Yeah, it was they just took it to them, and I'll if you didn't listen to the post press conference from Tom Izzo, he basically said what happened and what I saw as well. He just said his guys were a step slow. He said the 2 things that we do best is rebounding offensively and defense for Michigan State. Well, the Badgers outplayed them on both of those things. And just they had the energy. They've shown that if they have the energy and they're aggressive, and that's what we'll get into a little bit later, when they're aggressive, they can play with anybody.
Hmm.
And it was odd because Michigan State had a big win, but it was a week ago. Before that, they had a week off. They came out like they had just played a game. I thought the Badgers were going to lay a dud that game, or potentially. Instead,
Right.
instead they came out and they just dominated. It was just from start to finish, and it was just clearly on that day they were the better team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, to get to the other side of the pendulum for the Badgers,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, bad loss to Oregon last night. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe an even worse loss was to Ohio State. Ohio State, a little bit better of a team than Oregon. They're kind of on the outside of the bubble looking in. You know, if Ohio State strings together a couple big wins, you know, they could maybe get in as an 11 seed. But yeah, we don't know if they'll make the tournament or not. Right now, they're not. But then Ohio State, we play that game, and it's the complete opposite of the Michigan State game. Instead of us winning by 20, we lose by 20. Again, start to
Mm-hmm.
finish, felt like a wire to wire loss. So, how did we get dominated by Ohio State start to finish?
Well, I'm going to kind of lump both of those together, and I'm going to say I think the Oregon loss was probably a worse loss to
Right.
me.
Okay. Fair.
Um, and and when I say worse loss, is just because going into that game they had two Big Ten wins, and they had lost
Oof.
their last 10 Big Ten games.
Oof.
So they just were, they played the Badgers. They were the more aggressive team. The other thing, like with that Oregon game, that's why I'm focusing on that because, like you said, Ohio State, they're a team that could make the tournament. Right now, they're not, but they're close. If they get a couple wins, um, Oregon scored 44 total points against Minnesota in a losing game. The
Oof.
Badgers gave up 55 points in the second half to them alone.
Oh my gosh.
So
I didn't
to
realize it was that
me,
bad. Yeah.
yes, it was. That's how bad it was. And the two things that Ohio State as well as Oregon did, they took away the Badgers' driving game. They played a Ohio State played a total 2-3 zone in the first half. Yesterday, the Oregon played kind of a matchup zone, and they were taking away the Badgers' driving. And then you got Blackwell, who's just throwing it from 3 point range, not taking it to the hoop, and he was
He
hitting shots.
he
I
was
mean,
hitting the threes at
yes,
least.
he's hitting threes, but it goes back to earlier in the season when they don't take it inside at all or aren't able to. And if your two best guys, who are your de facto leaders, which is Boyd and Blackwell, if they're just, I'll say, chucking up shots, even if they're if unless they're making every single one, and that means it can't just be one guy like Blackwell last night, then they don't have the aggressiveness. So to
Sure.
me, the whole thing, and this goes back to the other part of the season, and I'm going to throw out a couple stats here for you.
Okay.
One thing that I found out today, when they've because everyone's all excited about how their new offense and how they're scoring and all the good things that Guard's done with that. He brought in Kirk Penny, former player from the Badgers, who played in Australia or New Zealand for many years, and he kind of upgraded the Badgers on offense. He's not there this year, but he did for 2 years, and so that's what got him to scoring over 80 points a game. So that's been fantastic. So it's like I give Guard credit for that.
Mm-hmm.
But so from their season standpoint, they're like what are we 21-9, I think. We're
Around
19 and
there.
0. We're 19 and 0 when we score more than 80 points.
Wow. I didn't know
So
that. That's wild.
if if we don't score 80 points, that means guess what? We got to play some defense.
Yeah.
And guess what we are in those games? 2-9. We're 2-9 in the games that we don't score 80 points.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been a season long, and I thought they were past it. I thought Ohio State was just a blip after having those couple big games. So that's why this Oregon game really concerns me because I thought they were past this because this is what was happening early in the year. They were getting beat and blown out. Some of the teams were good, and some, they were all honestly all the teams they've lost to, other than Oregon, is basically a 500 or better team or a pretty good
Right.
team in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon is basically the bottom of the conference, so that's why I put
Yeah.
it as a bad loss. And they had a couple guys out. So
Ooh.
to me, I'm really worried. And you started on a positive note, so that's good because I was pretty irked at seeing that they lost by how they did and that literally we didn't score inside. So
Yeah.
to me, it's lack of aggressiveness, and
Fair.
we're a soft team is how I look at
Oh.
the Badgers.
Oh wow. Yeah, not a great way to wake up, checking your phone and seeing really
No,
Oregon, and it wasn't even like we didn't really. I mean, we didn't get blown out, but we didn't really keep it close. We just kind of kept chipping away, and I don't know, we lose it by 10 or something. I forget the exact score, but yeah, I don't know. For me personally, and I don't know. I love to do this where if we play well, I'll praise the players. I'll be like Boyd and Blackwell or the bees knees. They're amazing. But if we lose, I always default to I blame Greg Gard. I say, you know what, this isn't the players. We have so much talent. There's no reason we should lose. It's Greg Gard. It's the coaching. That's why we lost. So, do you think I'm too critical of Greg Gard here? I've even been quoted on this podcast as saying fire the guy. Maybe that was an overreaction to a tough BYU loss, getting upset by James Madison the
mm-mm.
year before, but. I don't know. Do you think I'm too critical of Greg Gard, just kind of putting the blame on him, even when our players might not be doing the best?
No, I think it's warranted. I mean, he gets a lot of national publicity as being one of the best coaches.
Yeah.
They don't put him up there like with the Izzos of the world or Patinos or anything like that, but
Hmm.
they do say what a great job he's done, and he has, from a regular season standpoint in the Big Ten, he's kept the
Hmm.
Badgers relevant for
Yeah.
literally the 8 or 10 years that he's coached, and he's got a
Hmm.
great record. He's behind some legendary guys as far as his first 8 or 10 years, so he's got a great record there. But the fact that they haven't been to the Sweet 16 since what is it, 2017?
Yeah, I think
That's
he made it his first 2 years after Bo Ryan, but yeah, we haven't
right.
been back since.
And that part bothers me. So that's where guard, where you can give him the credit for he's keeping us relevant. Unlike the football team, we're relevant. We're still a good team. We're still in the national scene. We've shown we can beat anybody. But he's also then
Yeah.
there's games where and if the whole team doesn't show up, you can't blame it on one player. You got to blame it on the coach. So I
Right.
do think you're correct in your assessment that guard. I don't know what he does because he doesn't get on him in the game. I wish he would. Bo was
Yeah.
probably a little too quick on that. Bo, when he was in that, if someone did something wrong, especially defensively, he would yank
Yeah.
him. He'd
You,
put he'd put him he'd sit him down, and he might sit him down for 5 or 10 minutes, and
yeah.
then maybe bring him back in. Guard doesn't do that. That's not his style. I think he wants to be a
Right.
player's coach, and I know that's kind of the philosophy nowadays. But the
Right.
best coaches aren't players coaches. I don't think that's just me. So I know I don't. I
Yeah.
think it's warranted. Even though he's had a great regular season record, all that I don't say all that matters, but we saw it in the NFL. All the guys getting fired because they can't complete things in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's where it matters, and I'm hoping he can get to the Sweet 16 this year. I don't know, but that's so no. I think it's warranted. I give him credit. Like I said, on the offensive thing, he's totally changed the culture of the Badgers, and he's been
Yeah.
able to do some great recruits, but he hasn't kept that edge that they used to have, even his first couple years, from an aggressiveness standpoint. And I put that
Yeah.
on the coach. So
Yeah. No. No, fair enough. And like you mentioned, Bo Ryan was kind of his style was more so to, get on the players during the game where he'll be yelling. You could probably hear Bo Ryan yelling from the nosebleeds at the Kohl Center. Whereas Greg
you could.
Gard is maybe a little more reserved. Why do you think they call Greg Gard the silent assassin? You're
Well,
familiar with that nickname, right?
I am. I am. I actually. looked it up, and it's not really relevant to really anything. It was from like a sportscaster or TV announcer
Oh,
called him a
really?
silent assassin one time, and then his players took off on that and started printing some T-shirts like in 2021, and they
Okay.
all ordered them online and started wearing them as a little bit of a joke. And Guard just said, "Hey, if that if they like that and they think it's fun, that's great." So I wish it meant, which is what I was hoping to find out, that it meant that he's a little full of piss and vinegar when off the court and in the locker room and in the
Yeah.
practice stuff. I didn't hear
Right.
that. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I don't know. I don't know what his philosophy is, but my guess is he's probably not. I mean, he always has a little scowl on his face, but it's not
Right.
like Bo. It's not like Izzo. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys got it perfected.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so unfortunately, I think it's just the nickname he got, and the guys were chuckling about it. Davison, that was when he was like a freshman or sophomore. There was a quote, and he kind of thought it was the funniest thing, so he got a silent assassin shirt to wear during
Sure.
practice. So it really, unfortunately, I don't know if it really fits him. It sounds great, but I don't think he earned it. I don't think he's earned it. So that's just my 2 cents worth.
No.
If you got a
No,
cool
that's
nickname
fair.
like that, you got to earn it.
No, that's fair. Yeah, no, that's interesting. I didn't know the origin of that. I just assumed it's because he's, a decent coach and he doesn't yell that much. But yeah,
Hmm.
maybe he could benefit from having a little more of that Bo Ryan element to him. Remember last night the UConn I think beat St. John's like
Yep,
72-40. I would have loved to
correct.
be a fly on the wall and Rick Pitino in that locker room because
Oh,
I would assume he was not being very silent in
no,
there.
I'm
That was
sure,
a
and we didn't see that game, but I'm guessing during the game, I wonder if he pulled his guys, and he had to be in their face.
yeah,
Same thing like if Bobby Hurley on the opposite side. I mean, those are two guys that are legendary, and they get in their players' faces all the time,
yeah,
and they are just fantastic Hall of Fame coaches. And obviously, UConn's UConn from the last couple of years.
right.
He might be the best coach out there.
Yeah,
Because
Hurley loves to
I just,
scream.
yeah, and you think he screams maybe too much? I don't know. He's making it happen.
Yeah,
He's holding his players accountable. That's what the best coaches do, as far as I'm concerned. And
yeah,
if you don't pull a guy during the game, I don't think it matters a whole lot.
right, right. You got to actually, make the change there. But yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. But yeah, back to the Badgers. Like you mentioned, it would be great to get back to a Sweet 16 here with Greg Gard. But in terms of this year, what do you think is Wisconsin's ceiling?
Well, after two of the last 3 games being clunkers, I think the ceiling, and I was thinking Elite Eight, it would be Sweet 16 would be the ceiling because I
Sure.
think they could string 2 games together, but I don't know if they can do 3 right now,
Yeah.
just based on how they're playing. Now, if they finish strong, maybe I'd change that because I don't want to see them one and done or not even get one. And it's very possible because if they team comes out against them, if I'm watching those from those 2 clips, I'm playing some kind of a zone and I'm stopping the driving lanes. That's pretty easy to do if
Yeah.
a good coach can teach that. And they're going to have a week to prepare whoever is playing against the Badgers, even if they've never played a zone. That's just the way I would approach it, because obviously the
Yeah.
Badgers have shown that they don't know how to attack it, and they can't.
Yeah.
And it takes the mojo out of their players. And the only player that really has spark on the Badgers is Boyd. He's always fired up. Yesterday, I don't know, but other than that, the other guys, they can be up and down. They're more up than down. That's why they've got a great record, and they're still in the thick of it in the Big Ten. But
Mhm.
they just don't show it consistently because I think in general, all the guys are kind of soft. I really do. And so then that goes to if you're soft, you're not going to be aggressive. You're not going to play consistent defense, and that's what they're not doing. They're not being consistent on defense. They've shown they can
Yeah.
play it. actually, Izzo said that they played good defense. They played great defense against them. He said they shut us
Yeah,
down. So they've shown they can do it, but they just don't consistently do it, and that
yeah,
bothers me because that's
yeah,
in the head. That's in the noggin up here. That's in the noggin.
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. And speaking of defense, like you mentioned, we're what 19-0 when we score 80 points, and two
Yep.
and nine when we don't. So in those those nine losses, we're not going to win if we don't play good defense. So I mean, what do you think are some things the Badgers can do to improve that defense and maybe
Well,
become a little
I,
bit more reliable here?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're working on stuff because they are better than where they were beginning of the season because they started off like 9-5 or something like that, and in some bad blowout losses. The only good loss that they had early on was Villanova in overtime.
Yeah.
Other than that, in that game in the second half, they played balls to the walls defense.
Hmm.
So that's kind of was their. I'll be honest, and guards pointed to that. That was their first game, them showing passion on defense. That okay, it's not just about offense. So they can do it. I guarantee he's preaching it to them. I don't know if he should let Krabenhoft and Davison, who were in their days, the assistant coaches on the Badgers right now,
Yeah.
if he should let them just scream and holler at him, I'd like to see those guys maybe
Yeah.
engage on him if that's not guard style. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's how those guys played. They were, all in the face, and defense is about an attitude, and that's what
Yeah.
concerns me. So it's like right now, usually you still got to play good defense, even if the shots aren't falling. But if our shots aren't falling, we play bad defense. So, our and when our shots are falling, for some reason, our defense, we have more energy. It's easy to have more
Right.
energy when your shots are falling.
Maybe it's a
And
confidence
they're
thing.
yeah, and more confidence and then and just being more aggressive. So I was thinking it was just defense, but it's really that's why I say they're soft in general. But they have played some physical games. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They can do it. There's no way they beat Michigan, one of the most physical teams in the league, or Michigan State. They can't beat
Yep.
them if they don't play physical. So they
Right.
can do it. But they got out physical against Oregon. They got out physical against Ohio State.
Yeah.
They won two of those games against Minnesota, but they were probably out physical the whole game, and we just made more shots. So they've shown they can do it. I think it's just more of an attitude thing. And that's what worries me because now we got about 3 games left in the Big Ten and Big Ten tournament. Can
Yeah.
they turn it on? Like the pros. The pros turn on the defense in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can the
Well,
Badgers do that? If they do that, then their ceiling moves up. If they
yeah.
can't, then they play the same. It's all about hitting shots, and that's where I think two and done would be the most.
Sure.
Sweet
Sure. Yeah.
16.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, like hopefully, yeah. Hopefully we do that where we kind of flip a switch like a lot of these NBA teams once they're actually in the playoffs. But I mean, as far as our offense goes, we do have two assassins. John Blackwell, as you mentioned, those Minnesota games, he hits a game winner in both of them,
Mm-hmm.
and Nick
Yep.
Boyd has just been phenomenal as of late. But two guys that can kind of take over a game on offense at any given moment. But aside from those two players, who do you think's kind of the X factor for the Badgers from a player standpoint?
Well, X factor. I mean, for right now, the way as how they've played in the games that they've won, um, basically the X factor. Nolan Winter's he's been the most. He's probably been consistently the
Yeah.
stable, almost a double double. I won't say triple double, but a double double guy.
Hmm.
But he has to do that. So I don't think that's an X factor because he has to be able to do that for us
Sure.
to compete. So, and I'm going to say two guys, and they're both guys coming off the bench, which you always got to have some bench guys. Carrington, I think
Yep.
he is their best one-on-one defender. They
Okay.
don't,
Yeah.
I've never seen it said anywhere, but I've seen him guarding some of the best guys. But he's disappeared in some games, and he can hit threes, and he can slash a little bit,
Yeah.
as well as Rap. As we've seen, Rap started the year. He was a starter, and I think everything was moving a little too fast for him. I don't think he was making the right defensive adjustments. So I appreciate Guard in that he kind of yanked him and sat him on the bench for a little bit, and now he's come back and he's come back stronger. But those two
Yeah,
guys are going to have to, if we're going to go anywhere, they're going to have to be integral parts of whatever we're doing because one is the one big off the bench and one is the first guard off the bench now.
yeah,
So those guys, and that's why I'm looking at them. They're the spark plugs. If the
yeah,
spark plugs are there, and I wish he would then, and he has it sometimes at the end of games, he stayed with like um, Carrington when they've gone to like a small ball. And, he has stayed in the game or Janicki before he was hurt. He will do some of that.
yeah,
And I think that's when they've had their best defensive games when they've actually only had Winter in there as a big guy. And then like a
yeah.
Carrington as the next big guy because then they're just more athletic, more mobile, and they've done some good things against some other teams. So
No,
they
but
got the right.
no,
They have the pieces. They just it's just hard to see them get their butts kicked in certain games when they're the better team and they got more talent. It's different if
yeah,
the other team has more talent, but as we've shown, we can play with anybody, so you can't say it's a lack of talent. Or if you don't think we have enough talent, then you're going to say those games are lucky that we won,
right,
which
right.
which I don't think they were because you know they were very good games. So they have the talent, just mentally they don't. I don't think they have the total. It's not totally dialed in. It's there. It's there for the taking, but they got to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, shout out Braden Carrington and Austin Rapp. He's a sharpshooter when he's hitting, but I do owe Badger fans an apology. I think yesterday I said I don't think I've seen Rapp miss all year, and then he missed back to back 3-pointers. So that one might be on me a little bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting
Well,
to kind of a wide range of outcomes here for the Badgers here. I could see us knocking off a 1 seed in round 2. I could also see us
yep,
losing round 1. So let's hope
no,
let's hope we get back to the Sweet 16 here. Let's start there, Greg Gard.
that's
Um,
yeah, that's my
but
hope.
yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much what I got on the Badgers. I did want to talk about college basketball a little more in general.
Sure.
Like I said, Badgers had 3 top 10 wins in the Big Ten, so we do have some horses up there, and we got Purdue and Nebraska, I think, both in the top 10 right now. Is this the year? Do you think the Big Ten can finally break the championship drought?
I do. I think there's only Michigan is the only option for the Big Ten.
Ooh,
I don't think the other teams. While
no
the Big Ten is
Illinois.
no, I don't see it in Illinois. They're not athletic enough. They've had some clunker games as well, where if they don't match up well, they've got a lot of European players, and sometimes they don't quite match up. And again, I think they're a little bit like the Badgers. They're not always physical, where that's different than how they've always played in years past. They just have a different makeup this year.
Sure.
But in Purdue, they got two really good guards, maybe the All American point guard there,
Yeah.
but they don't have the big guys.
Yeah.
And
Kind of weird. They
Michigan's,
usually always have one. They usually always
yep,
got a huge
yeah.
7-footer, but yeah,
And,
maybe a little more small
no,
ball for Purdue
I
this
think those
year.
teams can get all to the Sweet 16. Maybe one or two of them get to the Elite Eight. The only team that's truly elite out of the Big Ten is Michigan. And I wish I
Yeah.
could say different in Nebraska. And I'm not knocking them. They started out 20-0.
Yeah.
Now they're I'm not saying taking steps back, but now they were blowing teams out.
Coming back to
And
earth a little bit. Yeah.
yes, back to earth, and I still love the way they play because they do grind it out. They will grind it out, unlike where the Badgers are at right now. So that's why they're ahead of the Badgers, and that's why I think they're just out of the top 10 right now, but they're hanging around there. So they're
Yeah.
going to be a 2 or a 3 seed,
Hmm.
and well deserved. I love what their coach is doing, and they're kind of playing the old Badger ball, a little bit,
Yeah.
but with more scoring. So and that's where the Badgers should be as well. A little bit better defense, and they could be as dominant as anybody, as
Yeah.
all the national guys have said as well.
Yeah. For sure. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
So I think
I
it's
definitely
Michigan. It's got to be Michigan or nobody. They're just, I
fair.
don't even see Michigan State. even with Izzo, who I love, because they really kind of got one guard and they're on. If they don't offensive rebound or they don't show up, kind of like the Badgers, they're gonna get beat. They're gonna get beat as well.
Yeah, no, that's fair. No, I definitely agree with you. Michigan's a legitimate contender here. Oh, Nemo's calling me. I don't know if I should answer this on the podcast. Might be kind of random. The fish calling me. No, I'll call him back later. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Michigan can definitely win the title. But I did want to ask you briefly about Michigan State's coach, Tom Izzo. Obviously, a legend of the game. What do they say? January, February, Izzo, April. He is March. But you might not think they're maybe a championship contender this year, but they'll obviously be a
Hmm.
force to be reckoned with in the tournament at the very least. So, what do you think it is about Tom Izzo that makes Michigan State so consistent year after year?
I think it goes to kind of everything I've been talking about. They're consistent with, other than when they played the Badgers, and I don't can't say I've seen every one of their games because when they don't play well, Izzo lets them know. Um, but they play defense all the time.
Yeah.
They offensive rebound that's nothing but being aggressive and
Mm-hmm.
on both ends of that spectrum. And so they always have that. And then it depends on some years he has more scores than others, and that's where it then puts them up. Okay, are they a top? They're always going to be hanging around the top 10 or 15. But if they really have an elite player or two that can score, then that puts them in the top five discussion. Right. This year I don't think they're there. They got the one guard Fears. He's really good, but that's one guard. He
Yeah.
can carry him for a game, maybe
I love
two.
Cohen Carr. That dude can dunk over
Yes,
anyone.
he is.
He's fun to
Oh yeah,
watch.
no, he is
He's
athletic. I
yeah.
describe him as I don't know that he's a true basketball player because when I saw him play the Badgers,
He's a
yeah, he
hooper.
had some great moves, but I just don't see him playing in the NBA. Not right now. He's got to improve a lot of other aspects. Athletically, oh
Yeah.
yeah, he can compete with anybody.
Maybe not as well rounded as Fears, but
No,
no, I mean
no,
Fear.
he doesn't have the shooting, and he's not a big guy who can dribble or take it to the rack. Other than he takes the flying dunks, one dribble and a dunk over everybody. So he's fun
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
So
For
he's
sure.
he's fun to watch. I think it's just Izzo, his consistency. He's on guys kind of like Bo was.
Yeah.
Bo and him hated each other when they first started, or I should say Izzo hated Bo because Bo had his
Sure.
number, beat him like eight out of the first six games he beat him,
Yeah.
and that's when they were ranked top five, top 10 every year in the badge, and Bo beat him. Just just would
That's
grind them down. So
yeah.
I think then he ended up respecting the Badgers by the time that Bo was done, but they disliked each other because two kind of East Coast kind of guys with a brash personality, and that's how Bo coached, and that's how Izzo
Yeah.
coaches. So it's
Yeah.
but no, I have a lot of respect for Izzo and the Michigan State program because they're going to be there. You can pencil them in for a Sweet 16. It's just kind of automatic. That's just the way I look at it.
Yeah, definitely. They're in the mix every year. But yeah, hopefully maybe guard can be a little more like Izzo. Although how can I say that when guard beat Izzo this year? But speaking of
Understood? No, I
another
know.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But speaking of another coach, I don't even honestly I don't know his name. I don't know if I need to dignify this question with a name, but the Kansas State coach recently got fired. He got fired with cause, so I think they're trying to avoid paying him the buyout. Who knows? Maybe it leads to a little bit of a legal battle here. But this firing came a few days after a fiery post game press conference after Kansas State. They lost to Cincinnati by like 30. Cincinnati's not a terrible team, but just maybe kind of a terrible effort, kind of akin to the UConn St. John's game last night. But I think the quote, I might be paraphrasing slightly, but the quote was pretty close to this. Kansas State coach said, "Yeah, these players they don't even deserve to wear the jersey, and I don't know how many will be back next year." I don't know. Obviously, there may have been a lot more going into it, but it happened 3 days later that they fired him. I don't know if that was the reason they fired him, but do you think that statement alone would have warranted a firing?
I The statement itself, it all depends on where you make the statement. Because you can say a lot of things. If he would have said it in the locker room directly to the players with no
Yeah.
mics around, I think he'd be fine. I think he'd still be the coach. The fact that he said it in the press conference, he
Yeah.
kind of did it as an, I don't want to say an embarrassment, that what he was just so frustrated. He didn't do it to embarrass the players. He was just stating probably a truth at that point in time, that those players
Yeah.
didn't deserve the jersey. It kind of goes to my effort thing. I
Yeah.
so I like that he was fiery. He just chose to say it, and I shouldn't say chose. He was so pent up from the game that he blurted it out in the wrong place. That's all.
Right.
He
Right.
should have done it one on one with his players and blasted them,
Yeah.
or taken some deep breaths and not gone into that press conference the way he did. My guess is because he said that, my guess is he kind of lost the locker room. I don't know. I haven't researched it, but I'm assuming that, you know, those players, and players can be soft, and now it's all over social media, and rightfully so, they probably did have cause to fire him, even
Yeah.
though I I agree with him. I didn't even see the game. I mean, he's not going to say that unless he was thoroughly disgusted with. And also, that goes back to everything I've been talking about: their effort or lack of it.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. He
Sure.
probably saw it, and he's been preaching it and talking to him, and he's probably at wit's end, and he blew a gasket at the wrong time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I'm sure
put
I'm sure none right. I'm sure none of the players were probably jumping to his defense after he basically threw the whole team under the bus, and maybe after that the players are like, "All right, that's how it's going to be." They probably told maybe the AD some other things he's
yep,
done because they probably didn't want to play for him anymore.
they
But I did
probably did. Yeah,
yeah, but
that's
I
my
did
guess.
want to talk. I wanted to talk about the another team in Kansas. Kansas. There's been a lot of speculation, and I don't want to speculate too much on it because Darren Peterson, I think right now he's projected to be the number one pick in the NBA draft here. He's had a couple injuries. Maybe he's been taken out of some games for some cramps, maybe an illness. I don't know. A lot of people are speculating that he's kind of intentionally sitting out here to prepare for the draft here. But I don't know. We don't have to speculate whether or not he is doing it. But do you think Darren Peterson would practice load management in the middle of a great season for Kansas? They just beat Houston. They're right up there in the top 10, and they're a team that could contend for at least a Final Four here. I mean, do you think he would try to do the load management
I
here in
I
college?
I think you would. It depends how you look at these college players. I mean, they're getting paid, so are they still considered amateurs? When I was your age, amateur, they didn't get a penny. They might
Yeah.
have gotten a scholarship. They didn't get a penny. They didn't even, or a partial scholarship. Now they're getting paid. So do I think he's probably doing some kind of load management? Yeah. He might still be growing, and maybe he has some aches and pains and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm if you're Kansas, it's like, what are you gonna do? Make them play? I mean,
Right.
so the coach is probably, yeah, he probably told them, come here and we'll work with you, and maybe he made them aware of that, or maybe he didn't. He stuck with them. After you sign the guy and pay him, probably what, a couple million is my guess. I don't know,
Yeah,
because if
he's
AJ
probably
Store
one of the
got him,
most highest paid NIL guys, and that's where I feel
yeah,
bad for the guy where everyone's talking shit. I mean, he's only 18 years old, so I mean, I don't know.
understood.
I don't know how much attention he's
It's
paying to it, but yeah, I mean,
right.
I don't necessarily
Well,
blame him, right? You're going number one, probably.
if that's is so, if he's number one, I don't blame him, because I'm sure
Yeah,
he's watching, some of the guys in the NBA, and he's got his, whether it's his parents or his de facto, I don't think they call them agents for college guys, but representatives.
hmm,
They're kind of setting him up, because in his case, unlike some other college players or many other college players, he's got a huge upside as far as money. A lot of the college players, I mean, that's probably it. You know, the AJ Stores of the world, and maybe even Boyd. Unless they go
yeah.
overseas. I mean, they got to milk it for everything that it's worth. This guy, he knows, okay, I got a couple $1 million, but I'm going to be making a whole lot more in the next level.
Yeah.
And so he probably, my guess is, yeah, there's some truth to it. And the Kansas coach, he's been around that's Bill Self, right?
Yep.
He's gonna, let him do the load management. And my guess is once they get into the NCAA tournament, there's no more load management. It'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see. That would be my guess. Then the guy's going to be playing 24/7 unless he's really, really hurt,
Yeah.
not just
No,
because if
fair
he's
enough.
tired or off a
Yeah.
little bit.
No, fair enough. But yes, kind of speaking of all of that, do you have any thoughts on the NIL and the portal? Obviously, we've had a lot of changes on that front in the past couple of years. Do you have anything you want to get off your chest about the
I,
NIL and the portal in college?
yeah. Well, I will say I certainly did not like it when it came out, and we've been hearing about it for a couple years, and then it finally kind of happened. Not a fan of it. How I get it to a degree. What I don't like is the ability for them to transfer after 1 year. I think maybe it should be like a 2 year commitment at a minimum, or they can transfer
Sure.
one time, and if they got to transfer a second time, they literally do got to sit out, like something of that nature. And then I
Mm-hmm.
think it would be a little better because it's like you got, the Yukons of the world. I'm not going to say the Dukes. I don't know if they're getting too many transfer guys, maybe a couple, but some of these
Yeah.
schools, it's like, they're just loading up on transfers, and it's
I
just,
mean, I can't be
it's year
too
by
mad
year.
about it. We got John Tonje and Nick Boyd out of
Oh
the
yeah,
deal. Two best players in the last 2 years, basically.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and
So
we
it's hard
saw
to be
that
too
AJ
mad, I
Store.
guess.
No, so
Right.
that's what guard's done fantastic in that. So
Yeah.
he's picked out a diamond in the rough for 3 years in a row. Hopefully, he can do it next year.
Yeah.
So while I don't necessarily like it, I I'm living with it at this point. If it gets too far gone, and who knows if it'll ever get dialed back or if it's just going to keep pushing forward. The hard part is that what people don't hear about, it's going to impact the non-revenue sports. So at other schools, without getting into detail, other schools, some of the programs like swimming, women's swimming and men's swimming and things like that at other schools, because they have to pay whether it's the basketball or the football team, they're shutting down some of those other programs because they can't
Oh,
afford
that's
they can't
unfortunate.
afford to have. Yeah.
Huh.
So like
Dang.
Marshall just cut their women's swimming and diving program. They
Dang.
just hired a new diving coach 2 weeks ago, and last week, while they were at their conference championship, they cut it. They said we are not
Oh,
having swimming diving next year.
at the
So they hired a coach.
championship.
Well, yeah,
Dang.
they had their tournament championship,
Right.
or their
Yeah.
conference championship, and
That's
that's pretty
rough.
much what And that's they just then when they got back, they found out that there's no team next year.
Yeah.
And teams are doing that, even in Wisconsin for track and field. They don't have a long jump pit for the people on the track field. They don't
Hmm.
have a pole vault outdoor. So they're cutting back on all the other things. So it's like the people, if they're a pole vaulter and you're at the UW of Wisconsin, you got to go figure it out and go practice at some high school track.
Dang. Yeah, that is
So it's just,
unfortunate.
so it's the things that you don't see as much as what you see. It's going to impact all these, what I'll say, quasi Olympic sports, which is college is the breeding ground for a lot of those.
Yeah,
And
for
those are the
sure.
ones that are going to get hurt the most. And a lot of people might not care about that because they're football, they're basketball, they're hockey. That's what they want. Those ones are going to be fine. It's the other ones that aren't going to be around or are going to be kind of decimated and turn more into club teams or
Yeah.
non-scholarship,
Interesting.
type of things. So
Yeah.
that's my take on the NIL, because it's not just impacting the big sports. It's going to where it is. People are
Yeah.
buying teams, but it's also impacting the little sports. So it depends what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about former NBA players playing in college basketball?
Uh, in theory, I don't like it. However, I think it would be pretty funny. And I don't think it should be a career NBA guy that can go back into play college. But if it's a G League guy who's never played,
Yeah.
what's the difference? It's like him playing
Right.
overseas. That's
Yeah.
kind of where I differentiate it. Or if it's a guy who's on a
That's
10-day
fair.
contract but hasn't really seen the court for 2 or 3 years and has never went to college, why not? I don't know.
Yeah.
You can probably make
No, I can see that.
more in college, more of an impact. Um, so why not? It
Yeah.
sounds kind of silly, but yeah, I don't want. I mean, or LeBron could go play. I think it would be a good one if LeBron. He's got some eligibility left. Does
Go to
he
the
have? Doesn't he have
Badgers.
a?
Come on. That's Greg
Yeah,
Gard's new
but
transfer next year.
he
That'd
could.
be
He
great.
could because I think he should. He should. Doesn't he have does he still got another high school kid or two
Yeah.
that it's are playing?
Yeah, well, I think Bronny's on the Lakers right now, and I think Bryce
Yeah.
James is on Arizona. But Arizona's so
Oh.
good that he hasn't really seen the court
Okay.
much. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. No, I like that. That's an interesting perspective. But yeah, last thing I got on college basketball here for you, and then I maybe want to end the show with a new segment.
Sure.
Do you have an early shot in the dark Final Four for me here?
I do. I
I think you
do.
alluded to
Thinking.
one of them, maybe in the Big Ten.
I did. You're right. Yeah, as a precursor to it. So yes, I do think Michigan,
Okay.
Final Four, definitely. I think Duke. I think that could be a precursor or close to it. I think those are both Final Four teams. It's going to take someone really special to knock them off.
Yeah.
I've kind of changed up a little bit because a couple teams have fallen by the wayside. And as I kind of went through the Big Ten, which we talked about earlier, I don't see any other contenders out of the Big Ten. So the two teams that'll be like number three, I think would be UConn,
Yeah.
just because I like their coach and they're really coming on. And like you talked about them thumping St. John's, I
Yeah.
just think that the combination of what he does, how he does it, he's like an Izzo, type of
Yeah.
person. But I think he has more talent, and they're buying more talent. That's just my two
Okay.
cents worth.
Yeah.
As well as the other
The
team,
fourth.
I was toggling is Florida. Yep,
Oh, okay.
I'm going to
Yeah.
go Florida.
The
I was
defending
thinking Arizona,
champs.
but Arizona doesn't have the guard play, and I think if you have a team that has one or two big guys that can slow down the Arizona alley oops and the stuff in the middle, Arizona could get beat handily. So
Yeah.
I think that's my final four teams that, because I just don't, there's other teams that kind of were in the mix, but they've kind of got some different flaws. Some of those teams just don't have either enough talent. I think those
Yeah.
four teams have a lot of talent. I was really impressed watching Florida the other night. They
Yeah.
have a lot of talent and they got some big guys as well.
hmm
So
They
they're
got
just
they
kind
got
of,
the seven. They got to play that 7-7 dude. I don't think he's really played any minutes yet, but
no,
they have
I didn't
one of
see
the
him.
tallest guys ever.
Okay.
Like I saw a
Well,
video of this guy next to Shaquille O'Neal, and Shaquille O'Neal like looks up. He's
that's
like,
That's
it's crazy.
awesome.
But no, I
See
don't even.
that
I
that
think
would
that
be
guy
like
might be a little too skinny
yeah.
to play right now. But I mean,
Well, give
obviously
him
their
two or
roster's
that's a
loaded.
perfect job. Give him 2 or 3 years with protein, and he might be a Zach Eady type guy. Even
Yeah,
and he could be dominant because in
so I put some
college,
meat on the bones. Yeah,
yeah, college big guys can play down low. You can
yeah,
still win that way.
yeah,
Unlike the pros.
yeah. No, for
So
sure. It's
yeah,
there's
that's interesting. But
no,
yeah, that would be my final four, and I mean, and
I
I
like
would
it.
lead the top three. Are like, and I would pick if I was picking one right now, I would pick Michigan. I really
hmm
would. I just think
Yeah,
even though they lost to Duke, and I think they're ranked third or something like that, I just think they can play like I was talking about. You got to be able to grind it out. They can score with anybody. They're athletic enough. Same with Duke. Although I want to do
oh,
a NCAA pool,
yeah,
and I got an idea here. Maybe this will take off, where
okay,
you have to pick Duke to lose the first round.
okay,
That's really the only rule. So, and then you pick the rest of the tournament as you would. and we'll see
Sure.
who does the best.
Hey, okay. No,
So call it
I don't
call
hate
it
that.
the Duke, the anti-Duke pool or something like that.
No,
I think
that's a
that would
great
be a
idea.
I think that would
And
be a good pool. It'd be interesting.
maybe if we do, and maybe if we get enough people to do that, we create some bad juju and we get Duke to lose to a 16 seed. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
That
Wouldn't
would
that
be
be
awesome.
awesome? I don't think even if you pick Duke, you'd probably be happy, unless you're a true Duke fan, which they are out there,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But
No, I think
I'm
everyone,
tired of
yeah.
Duke.
I feel like everyone but Duke fans hate Duke.
Understood.
Which
I think
is
you're right.
which makes sense. Which makes sense.
Uh,
But no, I love the maybe the little teaser of a Michigan championship pick because the Badgers did beat Michigan. So who knows?
yeah.
Maybe we're a
No.
shot in the dark team there. If we can
Uh,
beat the one of the contenders here, we'd
that-
have to string together 4 or 5 games, but we'll
that's where I
see.
worry because we did
We'll
it,
see.
and then until we, and I knew we were going to have a clunker after
I
winning those
mean, we
couple
strung. What did
games.
we have? Like 3 top 10 wins in a
Yeah,
couple weeks. I mean,
we did, and we
Illinois,
lost
Michigan
then
State
to
back to back.
Yep, and the Indiana game in overtime, which I still think we really won, but
We got
irregardless, that
screwed.
was a
Yeah,
tough game, and
right.
that played, that drained them a lot. But then they still
Hmm.
came back and they played great against Illinois following that loss. So that's why I thought, okay,
Yeah,
we're past the, falling apart, and getting soft. So
yeah,
unfortunately, that's where I'm just a little disappointed with the state of last night's game. But
yeah.
but
Well,
otherwise, yeah, those are my picks for the Final Four. Lock them, and load them.
yeah. Lock them and load them. I like it. Yeah. Hopefully, Greg Gard gets the boys right. The silent assassin
I hope
and
so. I hope so.
Blackwell and Boyd are 2 assassins at the guard spot there.
Correct.
No pun intended. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's all I got on college basketball. I was wondering, would you like to end the show with a new segment?
for sure. Let's do it.
All right. This I hate to end the show on a bad note. This is my last question, but this new segment is called Should the Badgers fire Luke Fickell and why haven't they already?
Well, should they? Well, they should have. He already should have been fired. So, yes, he should have gotten fired when everybody else was firing someone during the season, just based on how pathetic the team was. And I'm not a big firing guy because you always got to look at it. Well, let me step back. In all honesty, when they hired Luke Fickle, I thought it was a great hire.
Me
I
too.
really did.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good hire. Um, I was wrong. Now he might be end up being okay,
Yeah.
um, because next year what worries me a little bit
Hmm.
is they have a really weak schedule. They played Notre Dame, and I don't know who else they play, like Iowa. They don't play any Penn State, who last year kind of blew up, but maybe they're still going to be a top team. They don't
Yeah.
have the gauntlet like they've had the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should have fired Luke Fickle.
Yeah.
They should have fired McIntosh because McIntosh, and I heard this from a Badger insider, had promised the job to Leonard, and Leonard was ready to accept
Oh,
the job the day after the last Minnesota game, which they got drubbed, by the way.
right.
And instead, McIntosh calls him up at 6 in the morning, wakes him up and says, "You need to come into the office." So he had promised him a job, and then he decided, "Nope, I got somebody else." So I'm guessing Fickle must have reconsidered, or when he was searching around. So I think McIntosh as well as Fickle should have been gone. But the reason they're not is a story in Badgerville is because I was going to look it up. I can't remember if it's, I don't want to disparage the wrong family who's committing $200 million to the practice facility
Yeah.
that they're building that's about half done. And I don't know, it's either Nicholas or was it? I think it's Nicholas family, whichever family it is. They said if you fire Fickle, we're going to pull our funding.
Uh,
And good luck. You're on your own to finish this practice facility. So I think the
Jeez.
Badgers, that was one of the main driving reasons. It comes down to money. And you can
Getting a
say
little
all
too
you want
corporate and
about
political.
correct. I think it got
Yeah.
political. I think Barry got involved there. That's just my 2 cents worth.
That makes me sad. I didn't realize that Leonard had actually been offered the full
Yep.
time job, and
He
then
was
just kind of got the
basically
offer.
told he had the
He
job.
kind of petered out at
Yep.
the end of the year, but I loved Leonard at least from a defensive perspective
Understood.
for sure. Yeah, that's
Understood. And I got that from a really high source of someone who literally was at their house that day and evening
yeah.
and morning of after
Wow,
that Minnesota game.
that's
So it's
wild.
firsthand knowledge, and it's
Overreacting to one game and probably
yeah,
overreacting to Cincinnati making the four
yeah,
team playoff with Fickle there.
understood. It was probably a
But yeah,
combination of both, no doubt about it, no doubt about
sure.
it. And so that yeah, that really bothers me that that's what he did. And one thing, just as a side note, um, but I think it's a money thing. As well as I was also told that there were two boosters who were going to buy out Fickle's contract for
They're gonna
twenty
put up
nine
the
million.
30 mil. Yeah,
Yep. But that got trumped by the practice facility. That's why
yeah.
if you
I
remember
guess 200
McIntosh,
million's a lot more. Yeah.
yep, he was saying, "Hey, we're
Shoot.
going to invest in the program. We're going to invest in the facilities." That's exactly what he meant. So the big
Yeah.
donor trumped the two
Yeah.
small donors that were going to pony up 30 million because they're only small donors.
Oh.
So that's the kicker. So I think that's
Wow. Yeah.
unfortunate thing. And what I'm expecting to happen this year is maybe the Badgers are 500.
Yeah.
Getting to a bowl game, and guess what the mo is going to be coming out of the athletic department. Oh, we have improved from
Yep.
being a
Yeah.
pathetic team to now we're bowl eligible again. We're a
That
bowl
does
team.
worry me. Yeah.
And that's where then I think that's my concern because it's like it just kind of lingers the Luke Fickle era as well as McIntosh because I think McIntosh he pulled the big trigger again. I was for it, but I wasn't doing the background and everything else. But he made the decision, and
Yeah.
Barry backed him from start to finish, and even in the last end of the last year when all that stuff was going on, he was backing McIntosh. By backing McIntosh, he was backing Fickle
Right.
because he knew if Fickle got fired, McIntosh was short to be fired as well. So that's
Sure.
just my 2 cents worth on that, and that's from because it's
You
like
heard
you
it
got
here first from Badger
yes,
insider Pete Maurer,
yep,
who he
that's
won't
right,
he's not
Badger
going to reveal
Insider.
his sources though. So you're
Nope, I will
everyone's
not.
good on
I
that
will
front.
not. No,
Will not.
so it most things and things like that, especially in the sports, it comes down to money. It's all money
Yeah.
related. I
Hmm.
mean, don't get me
It's
wrong,
like
we
the
all love to
Brewers
watch it.
trading all their players. I'm like, why are we
Yep,
trading all my
for
favorite players?
sure.
It's like, well, can't
Yep,
afford it really. It's
can't afford it.
unfortunate.
It's money. It's a
Yeah.
money thing. Some have it, some don't. And the Badgers are lucky that they're, in the Big Ten. Between them and the SEC, it's the two conferences that everybody gets the most money.
Hmm.
And we're fortunate. We're lucky. So, and we're kind of in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten as far as money and probably contributors.
Sure.
Um, so it's
Right.
like from that perspective, we're fortunate, and we might
Right.
have some years where we will be really good in football and in basketball and hit the right lottery stuff because we're at least in the realm. Let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
Sure.
Um, so
Sure.
yeah,
But yeah.
it's yeah, Fickle should have been fired. There's no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
that being said, it's hard. I'm still a Badger fan. I got
Yeah.
to decide if I'm going to keep my season tickets. Um,
Listen up, Fickle. Listen up.
it's tough.
People are thinking about
Well,
canceling.
I've talked to lots of people,
Yeah.
and most are not renewing their tickets. And
Wow.
I'm getting contacted as of today for my season ticket renewal, and they're mentioning that they've never had this before. They're
Wow.
they're doing
Yeah.
two things. You can go on a payment plan,
Oh
3 or 4 months of payment plan. They never did that in the past, and I've had
Yeah.
tickets for over 30 years.
Wow.
And or
Wow.
they're saying if you want to upgrade your tickets, we can get you on the 40 and 50 yard line. Guess what?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Those were never available
trying to entice you
before.
here. Yeah, and now
Well, it's
they are,
because
unfortunately.
because they tried to hit because my tickets aren't on the 40 or 50 yard line, so those people have spoke up loud and clear
Still
and
got some nice ones
walked
from the
away.
20, but yeah. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
unfortunate. Well, hey, I think I'm in total agreement with you on all this Fickle stuff, but yeah, let's hope we're wrong. Let's hope Fickle
I hope so
somehow,
too. No, I
turns it
do.
around. Let's hope we go into Lambeau
I
Field
do.
and pull off an upset of what'll probably be a top
I hear
10,
you.
maybe top 5 Notre Dame team and put
Yep.
together a good season. But
I
yeah,
hope so.
let's hope it's not just a middle of the pack, run of the
Correct.
mill 7 and
Well,
5 season. It makes it look like we're better than we really are.
understood.
Yeah,
Yep. Supposedly they got a good recruiting class and getting off
yeah,
track, but we'll see. So I do hope that he turns it around because it would be a little
yeah,
bit of a minor miracle. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. Only time will tell. Well, obviously, go Badgers. We got the basketball team. We're competitive there. We're
We
we're a
are.
legit we're a legit team there that should be able to get to the Sweet 16 if we put together a couple good defensive efforts here, like you've said. But yeah, that's all I got for today. So thank you again, Pete,
Thank
Patriot
you.
Pete, Peter's Home Loans, Pete 90X. Thank you again for joining me
Badger
today.
Pete.
I
Don't
really
forget
appreciate it.
Badger Pete.
Okay, sorry,
Badger
Badger
Pete today.
Pete. I forgot that.
Badger Pete.
Thank you,
All
Badger
those
Pete,
all those
for
apply.
pulling up. This was
All of them
great.
apply.
Really
All right.
appreciate it. But yeah, thank you. Thank you again.
Take care.
All right, that's a wrap.